Welcome to the OregonServes AmeriCorps Planning Grant webinar. This webinar will cover what a typical planning grant period looks like and will provide an overview of the following: planning grant objectives and goals, timeline and phases, required activities and deliverables, and the training and technical assistance that will be provided. Planning grant objectives and goals. An AmeriCorps planning grant provides funding to support the design of an AmeriCorps program and the preparation needed for an organization to successfully manage a federal AmeriCorps operational grant. Planning grants provide successful applicants with resources needed to develop program components, including program design, and to build operational capacity that's critical to managing an AmeriCorps program. The goals of a planning grant include developing the required components of an AmeriCorps program through a structured, iterative process during the planning grant period, using resources provided by OregonServes. A few of those components include developing internal controls and policies and procedures, creating a budget, and preparing to apply for an operating grant. Timeline and phases. This section covers what a typical planning grant timeline looks like. A typical planning grant lasts 12 months and has 4 phases. Each phase lasts approximately 3 months. If an applicant applies for a shortened planning grant, the timeline and phases will need to be adjusted. The 4 phases of a planning grant are: Phase 1, Program Design. Phase 2, Partnership Development, Fundraising, and Member Service Descriptions. Phase 3, Member Plans and Organizational Capability. And Phase 4, Program Readiness. Before jumping into Phase 1, there are a few things that you need to do and have in place. Those include reviewing the planning grant agreement to ensure you are familiar with the grant requirements, setting up the TrueScreen and field print accounts, which are used for the background checks of members and staff, developing a timesheet for staff charging to the grant, taking the National Service Criminal History Check e-course, building your planning team by identifying lead staff, begin reviewing AmeriCorps guidance so you are familiar with the terms and conditions of the grant. Lastly, create a work plan that identifies key deliverables prior to launching your operating program. Each planning grant phase has various activities and key deliverables. This section will cover each phase and their deliverables. Each phase will always include the following 3 activities: attending pre-recorded or live webinars, attending check-in meetings with OregonServes staff, and writing narratives for certain aspects of your program model. Phase 1 focuses on program design. In this phase, you will write the narrative that summarizes the community need that will be addressed through service activities performed by AmeriCorps members. You will develop the logic model, which is a visual representation of how your program works by depicting the intended relationships among program components. You will develop the evidence base, which should include relevant evidence to inform your proposed program intervention. You will develop at least one performance measure, which is a quantifiable goal to determine the impact of AmeriCorps on communities and participants. And the last activity in Phase 1 is to develop a preliminary operating program budget. Phase 2 focuses on partnership development, fundraising, and developing your member service descriptions. In this phase, you will write the narrative that summarizes the partner plan, which describes the program's major partners and their contributions. You will write the narrative that describes the plan for securing the necessary match funding to support program implementation for at least the first 3 years. You will develop the service site locations diagram, which is a graphic presentation of the service locations, member positions, and slot types. You will also develop the final program budget for a full operating grant. Phase 3 focuses on member plans and organizational capability. In this phase, you will write the narrative that summarizes each staff person's roles and responsibilities. You will write the narrative that summarizes how members will gain skills as a result of their service term. You will write the narrative that summarizes how AmeriCorps members will receive sufficient guidance and support from their daily supervisors. You will write the narrative that summarizes the monitoring and oversight plan to prevent and detect noncompliance. You will develop the data collection system that will be used to track performance measures. During this phase, you may also be simultaneously developing your full operating grant application should you choose to move forward. Phase 4 focuses on the final pieces of program readiness and preparing to launch an operating grant. In this phase, you will wrap up any deliverables that may not have been completed in previous phases. You will finalize the necessary policies and procedures, complete any necessary trainings, close out the planning grant, and if you applied for and received a full operating grant, prepare to launch your full program. Training and technical assistance. This section covers the training and technical assistance that will be available to you during the planning grant period. Grantees will have access to OregonServes resources, which include a framework for developing systems to launch a program, access to individual training and technical assistance, invitations to training webinars, networking and collaboration opportunities with existing grantees, and you will also be provided with a toolkit to use as a resource when working through the various components of program design and preparedness to launch. The toolkit includes key activities, thought-provoking questions, available resources, and documents relevant to the application process. This document is to be used in conjunction with the OregonServes Planning Grant Work Plan document that is used to track overall progress. A few additional items that are important to know are that applicants can request up to $75,000 for the planning grant period. There is a 24% match requirement, which can be cash or in kind. New programs must include the costs for a staff person who will be the primary program contact. This person is expected to spend at least 75% of their time on the planning grant. Planning grants may not be used for supporting members. Therefore, grant funds cannot be used on costs associated with member activities, such as travel and training. That concludes the OregonServes AmeriCorps Planning Grant webinar. If you have questions, please contact us by email at oregon.serves@hec.oregon.gov or visit our website at oregon.gov/OregonServes. For specific eligibility and application requirements, please review the applicable request for application.